أمام القابر بالأدب. أيها المشتاق لا تنمي، هذه أنوار ذي سلم، عن قليل أنت في الحرم، عند خير العرب والعجم. قف أمام القابر بالأدب.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى محمد. فاتحة بالله تعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على تمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله والدعاء على الهدى والدلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقرب ثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. وعلى ما نوى نبينا سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم على المسلمين الصالحين وعلى ما نوى المؤلف أبي أحمد بن زين الحبشي وشيخنا وحبيب أحمد إسماعيل ونشرنا وإدخلنا في بناتهم وعملنا في أعمالهم وأخلاقنا في أخلاقهم وطريقتنا في طريقتهم المقبول. على حضرة النبي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين آمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم اجعلنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ينفعنا وزدنا علما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This week, inshallah, before we proceed to this week's session, I wanted to make a correction. I think last week I mentioned that the zakat in currency is permitted by the Maliki madhab. Right? In fact, the madhab that allows payment of zakat in currency, in money, is the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu. Okay, so that's a small correction, and it should be noted. And that's what that's the madhab. We use his madhab, his position. The people in this region who pay with money, or rather, in fact, any region who pays with money, right? We do it thanks to his valid position. Okay, but I also explained last week how the need for money and the imperative of or the barakah of following the sunnah can be reconciled. According to according to the Shafi'i madhab. So it will be good to take note of how to reconcile these two, okay, in payment of zakat, inshallah. Also, I'm not sure whether I mentioned last week, right, with regards parents, for example, paying for the zakat of children for whose support they are no longer responsible. Okay, or generally people paying for other people, right, for whose support who they are not responsible for supporting. Okay, so this is not valid. It requires the permission of the one who is being paid for, right, for whom the zakat al-Fitr is being paid for. So, yes, and this applies to children as well. So once the children are baligh, have reached puberty, right, and the father is no longer responsible for their support. Okay, so in the event that he wants to pay zakat al-Fitr, or zakat on their bodies, on their persons, on their behalf, then he requires their permission. Okay, only then is that zakat valid. Okay, so this week we will wrap up, inshallah. We'll move on to wrap up the section on zakat al-Fitr before moving on next week to Umrah, to Hajj and Umrah, inshallah. Okay, so we move on to Habib Ahmad Manzil rahimahullah ta'ala goes on to say وإلى أن قال رضي الله عنه ونفعنا به وبعلومه وعلوم شيخنا آمين وتجب النية في الجميع. Okay, intention is required for all. Okay, the above mentioned forms of zakat is referring to, in fact, intention is required for all zakat. It is a condition of validity for both zakats, whether it's on zakat paid on wealth or on the person. Okay, so one would say, for example, that if you want to make the intention in Arabic, then hadi zakatu mali. Okay. Yeah, but otherwise, generally, the intention itself, okay, does not have to be made in Arabic. Okay, does not have to be uttered. In fact, right, the place of the intention is in the heart. Okay, we've discussed 7 aspects or 7 issues with regards to intention. We discussed this in the first session, I think, on the integrals of ablution, and that's a very important discussion because that the intention applies everywhere. Right? So most of the all, in fact, the actions that are for which one is morally or legally responsible involve or require intention. Okay, so I can intend that I hereby give the zakat on my property. This is what I was saying earlier. Hadi zakatu mali. So even without having to add the fard in it, without having to add that, it is something that is obligatory. Okay, because zakat is, as mentioned earlier, right, is the zakat is by default, okay, it's obligatory already. Okay, and the importance of this is important to the importance of the intention is to, as per the discussion on intention I just referred to earlier in the section of the integrals of ablution, and the importance of intention is to distinguish between the zakat that is wajib, zakat on wealth or on the person, and zakat that is not wajib, zakat that is sunnah, voluntary charity, for example, which does not require an intention. Okay, so if one wants to, hadith sadaqah al-mafruḍa, ala mali or badani, okay, one wants to go with Arabic, right? So this is the obligatory charity, and here, if you don't use the word zakat, then one should add the fact that it is obligatory, okay, to specify. Okay, so Habib Ahmad Manzil goes on again to ولا يجوز أن يصرف الزكاة والفطرة إلا إلى حر مسلم متصف بصفة أحد الأصناف 8 كالفقير والمسكين وكونه غير هاشمي ولا مطلبي ولا مولى لهم. It's not permitted to give zakat or zakat whether on property or zakat al-Fitr except to a free Muslim, okay, who is characterized by one of 8 characteristics, such as being poor or short of money, not being Hashimi or Mutalibi, nor of their freed slaves. Okay, so here Habib Ahmad Manzil is lining out or specifying the conditions for zakat recipients. Okay, so first of all, the recipient must be a free person, free man or woman, i.e. Not a slave. Okay, because the slave, in fact, is sufficed by the master. Okay, so the slave in the tradition, in the Islamic tradition, is, or used to be at least, was someone who was in the position of a son, of a child rather. Yeah, so he would eat, he would eat whatever the master ate, right? The same food, the same kind of food, right? No differentiation, no discrimination there, and same kind of living area, living quarters as well. Okay, but the zakat is not meant to be, it's not meant for it's not designated for the slave, because the owner suffices, the master suffices him. It's also given to Muslim only, i.e. excluded by this is the kafir. Okay. The kafir, the non-Muslims do not receive zakat, and the Muslim who is a corrupt Muslim, a fasiq, right, receives zakat on condition that we know that it will not be used in disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. The other category of non-Muslim who receive zakat is the amil, the zakat worker, who collects and distributes the zakat. In the event that there is such a person who is not Muslim, and this person is eligible to receive zakat. Okay, so the one who receives zakat should also be neither Hashimi nor Muttalibi. Okay, meaning descended of Sayyidina Hashim bin Abdul Manaf or Sayyidina Abdul Muttalib bin Hashim. Right, Sayyidina Abdul Muttalib is the grandfather of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Sayyidina Hashim is his father. So those connected to either one of these rungs of the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these people are not allowed to receive zakat, generally speaking, because there's a hadith where the Prophet explains that zakat is the impure, right? It comprises the impure parts of people's wealth, right? And the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not take what is impure. Okay, although this is nowadays a significant majority of the scholars would say that they qualify for zakat, okay, because of certain things that have changed throughout time. So in the event that you want to give money, or you want to give money to someone who is Hashimi or Muttalibi, of the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet sallallahu, family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then if it's not, doesn't have to be zakat, then one should instead intend it as a gift. Yeah, although like I mentioned, this is a valid position with quite a number of scholars who support it, that it's permissible for them to receive zakat. Or another way to do it, as per the wisdom of Habib Zain bin Ibrahim bin Smith, the Imam Shafi'i of our time, is that you give zakat to someone who deserves zakat, and then that person will give it as a gift to the Hashimi or the Muttalibi that you want to the Ahlul Bayt that you want to give zakat to, okay, or you initially intended to give zakat to. Okay, zakat recipient cannot be someone, right, for whose support one is personally responsible. Right, the one who receives zakat, one of the conditions is that the one who receives zakat cannot be someone for whom one is already responsible for, right? Whether it's in terms of whether it's a this person is whether source or branch. Okay. When we say source or branch, source meaning upwards, parents and parents' parents and so on, as we mentioned earlier, and branch means downwards, right? A husband, the wife, the children, children's children, etc., and so on. Okay, so where one is personally responsible for their support, i.e., where they cannot support themselves, right, and are of age, right? Then these people they're not eligible for one zakat. You cannot pay your zakat to these people. Okay. Fifthly, it must fall within one of the 8 categories of recipients. Okay, the asnaf as per the Quran. First of these is the poor, the fakir. Right. So I'm just going to go through this cursory fashion, right? Just briefly. Okay, so who is the poor person? The poor person is someone who needs $100, for example, a month to survive, but only has $50. Second is the miskin, right? Those who are short of money. Right? This is the one who similarly maybe needs $100 a month to survive, right? Needs, not wants. But only has $80. Okay, so he's slightly better off than the fakir. Okay, the third category is the amil, zakat worker. Yeah, people are given zakat if they are working without salary, right? And even if they happen to be wealthy. Okay, so in the event that they happen to be wealthy, they are still given if they work without salary. Again, al-mu'allafatu qulubuhum, their faith, to help their certainty increase in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or alternatively, it could be to new converts. Okay, so sometimes when people convert to Islam, there's a bit of friction with the family initially, right? So people who are recently converted and alienated from their families, okay, so these people are given zakat, qualify for zakat. Okay, those purchasing their freedom, i.e. slaves. So this refers to this is the category called fil riqab, and the kind of slave that there are a few kinds of slaves, with regards ownership, okay, in terms of ownership, and the one purchasing their freedom is called the mukatab. This person is someone who has agreed with his master to purchase his freedom, and the master says, okay, fine, you want to purchase your freedom, that's okay by me, but I bought you at a price. Okay, so before slaves were exchanged, they were traded, right? So I bought you at a price, and if you can pay me your price, then I will free you. Yeah, so these people are assisted in regaining or purchasing their freedom, right, by giving them zakat. Okay, and they are given zakat only if they don't have the means to purchase their freedom. Next is those in debt, right, al-gharim, right. So there are various kinds, various subcategories of these people. One of which is when a person takes on debt so as to pacify, arguing parties. For example, maybe some two parties are arguing over money, and there's fitna and there's discord, and and problems arising from that, and this person takes a loan, assumes a debt to pay off one of the parties to solve the problem. Okay, so this person is qualifies for zakat even if he is wealthy. Okay, because of course wealth and liquidity are two different things. Yeah? So one might be wealthy but not have the amount required at that particular point in time, right, to solve the problem. So then one assumes a debt. Okay, another category is those fighting for Allah. So these are those people who are in jihad fi sabilillah. Okay, and they're fighting jihad without salary. Right? If they're being paid a salary, then they don't receive zakat, and if they're fighting without salary, they are given even if they are wealthy. Right, finally is travelers needing money, Ibn Sabil. So this can be either one who is passing through Muslim land where zakat is collected, right, or someone who seeks to travel for mubah purposes, permissible purposes. So for example, one wants to go and study and one has to go overseas, right, to seek knowledge, right, then this person can be given zakat to cover his personal expenses and travel costs. So these are the 8 categories of recipients, and together these are the 5 conditions for zakat recipients. One must fulfill these conditions, right, to qualify for zakat, to qualify to receive zakat monies. Okay, so finally Ahmad bin Zain goes on. Okay, that it's necessary to pay zakat to all of these groups, right? So here actually he's touching on the ruling of distributing zakat to all the 8 categories and individuals within the categories. In fact, the ruling actually differs according to who is distributing the zakat. So whether it's the imam or the ruler, for example. You know. But it is sufficient to know that, it should be enough to know that generally zakat must be distributed equally, right, amongst each member of the 8 categories of recipients. But some scholars have ruled that it's permissible to give to one category, right, or to distribute zakat in an area other than which it was collected, right, and also maybe to give individuals more or less. Okay, so all this depend on the conditions, depend on conditions being fulfilled, and depending on circumstances. Okay, so that should suffice for the bab on this chapter, right? And if as I mentioned before, if you would like a more in-depth treatment, or if you need that information, right, then feel free to check out the other material by the Ustaz Abdurrahman Balkhi, right? Also on the same book, on Essentials of Islam, he goes in depth, right? Okay, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam ala al-Fitr Muhammad wa rasulullah wa sallallahu alaihi wa sallam hatta qasana subhana hadra sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Al-Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-rahmanir rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Ighfir li wa li wal mu'minin.
يا ربنا اعترفنا بأننا اقترفنا وأننا أسرفنا على لظى أشرفنا فضلا وجودا منا لا باكتساب منا بالمصطفى الرسول نحظى بكل سول بالمصول نحظى بكل سول بالمصطفى الرسول نحظى بكل سول.